collaborations. I would now like to call upon stage Mr. Arunab Singh, Director, Nehru World School, Ghaziabad, as the moderator. The panelist, Mr. Sandy Mathewson, Head of Prep School, the Glasgow Academy, Scotland. Matthew K. Pierce, Rector, the Glasgow Academy, Scotland. And Dr. Swati Popadvats, President, Podar Education Network and ECA India. Can we have a huge round of applause, please?
Namaskar everybody. So where? माइक नहीं चल रहा है. माइक में आता है ना आवाज. बहुत ही बाजू में, अब तो खा जाऊं. Namaskar. I am Arunab Singh and I am the moderator for this session today. And this is Dr. Swati Popadvats. But it's a pleasure. We have switched roles today and I'm actually very nervous because I'm going to be moderating the king of moderation, Mr. Arunab. So it's going to be a wonderful panel as given in the introduction. It's about international partnerships. So I'm going to start with Matthew. Can you please provide us some brief background information about your school and its context?
Absolutely. First of all, can I just say thank you to Ravi and his team for having us here today. It's been a wonderful morning. I'd also like to thank you for the rain. That made us feel very much at home too. So. We come from the Glasgow Academy. The Glasgow Academy is a 3 to 18 school across 3 sites. The school was built in 1845. We have a lot of traditions at the school, and with that length of time does come some responsibility for conformity, and I would say that conformity is not a bad word, but I think that we look at things that we should conform with and we cherish, and actually that provides the structure for us to then be creative on top of that. We are a successful school. We actually achieved the highest results in the whole of Scotland that was announced on Thursday. We had a very successful inspection from Education Scotland several years ago, which was particularly complimentary about our early years provision, and that's something we're looking forward to working with Aaron on. With that, I would say our great strength is that we love learning, and also that we don't think we're perfect. That's so important. You have to have that desire to keep learning from others, and that's really why we're here today. I think it'd probably be worth me also just adding a few words about Scottish education as a whole. It's been very interesting to hear the ideas that have been talked about today. Back in about 2001, Scottish education, which is quite different from English education, it set out on a journey to be a much more skills-based education. I mean, back then we were really talking about core skills, communication and teamwork. It was felt that young people in Scotland weren't really prepared for life learning and work. And I think a great deal of progress has been made in that, but of course the world has become more complicated, and we're really now working to develop those qualities, I guess, of emotional intelligence, resilience, empathy, that will really prepare young people for what is a really uncertain future. A couple of things that I think have really helped us in Scotland, and particularly in our school, has been a change in teacher education and particularly in how teachers collaborate with each other. There's a great deal of sharing good practice across Scotland, but particularly within our school. What we're really interested in now is looking more outwards. The world is a very big place, and we want our young people at school to have a global outlook. And we just think there's so much that we can learn from other people, the likes of Aranav, and from your country.
Sandy, your school caters up to what grade?
Hello everyone, I am Sandy. I would also like to thank Ravi's team before I answer the question, because this is an amazing opportunity, and just thank everybody who's been so kind to us and meeting us at airports, making sure that we were fed and watered last night. So it's very important that we thank you for that, so thank you. In answer to your question, we are a 3 to 18 school, so we run from nursery up to our equivalent of senior 6. So
it's an early years centre.
So there is we have 3 early year centres. So we have an early year centre at each of our sites. All early year centres are very different. We have a forest school in the north of Glasgow.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We have a very outdoor nursery in the south side of Glasgow, and I would say our main nursery in the Kelvin Bridge site, right in the middle of Glasgow, is probably more traditional and probably what you would see in a good independent school in India. We don't have the space, being a city centre school, to develop that site.
So before I come to my next question for you, early years in India is what we refer to as preschool, because I went out in the break and I was speaking to someone and I said, do you cater for early years? So the gentleman said, yes, of course we do. We start from grade 3 and 4. So that's not early years. Early years is actually early, which is 3 to 6 years. And there's a global shift in calling those years early years instead of preschool, so that you don't focus on preparing them for school, but preparing them for the foundation of life. My question to you, Sandy, is, as a UK school, what do you believe are the benefits of establishing a partnership in India?
Good question. So I should contextualise my answer with that we have actually worked alongside Aranav for about 10 years now. So we were fortunate enough to receive funding through the British Council, the Connecting Classrooms scheme. We visited a lot of schools in a lot of different countries, but actually India was the country that we felt most welcome, and actually we felt that we were at a similar crossroads as Indian education. We also felt that you guys as a whole were very open and honest people. You're always wanting to improve outcomes for your learners, and that's similar to our own beliefs. So that's why we've kept the partnership going, primarily with Aranav, but which is why we're here today, to try and establish more lasting partnerships. I think for me as a head teacher, the most important thing is allowing teachers and empowering teachers to foster their own relationships with colleagues in international schools. We've already had a number of initiatives with teachers, sharing ideas on Skype with Aranav School. Our children have studied the same novel in English lessons and have then Skyped each other to share reviews, to ask each other questions. We've done some PE initiatives together, and it just allows our children, who are quite inward looking in Scotland, although we may seem to be nice and open and friendly. No, our children they're very nice, but they take things for granted. And I think just being able to share stories, to see children from other backgrounds, beliefs, cultures is really important to them in developing empathy and things. So for me, teacher development and pupil development are the most important things in this partnership.
That you feel you will get from a partner in India?
Yes, absolutely.
So Aruna, what are the benefits, according to you, from the Indian point of view, of having a partnership with an international partner?
Thank you. And rather than thanking Ravi, I want to thank you for for complimenting all of us. Working with me for 10 years, you still feel we are good people. You are a very kind man. I think there is a lot of growth that we've seen, or development that we've seen in the last decade with private schools in India. And a lot of people have tried to take in some fantastic strides. We must not forget we are 1/5 of the total world population. It's such a small country that we're just 1/5. That's huge. So while a lot of things are working for us, our economy has done well, it's about time that we start investing even more in our younger ones, because they will truly make us the country that we
Very
we
well
will.
said.
So there are going to be solutions that we will find for ourselves from our own experiences, from our own learning. But there are also solutions that we can find from countries or organizations that have possibly encountered those problems before us.
Maybe done research.
And done research. So if the Glasgow Academy has been around since 1845 and they're still alive, they've probably found some solutions that are worthy looking at. So knowledge transfer is something that I'm certainly looking at in a partnership that would be worthwhile.
That's wonderful. So I come back to you. You chose India and I asked you about India. But were there a lot of choices and then you chose India, or?
No, I mean we've been fortunate enough to have partnerships with other schools, but as you all know, Aranav is, and I've talked to him for a while. He's a very transparent individual.
So he's been a good ambassador for India.
He's a very good ambassador, and what we like about Aranav is that he is all about education. He's not about promoting himself. He's not about promoting the school. And that's very much our view as well. I should also have said, in early years, I think it's probably a pretty similar feeling in India, that these ladies, and more commonly now gentlemen who are working with our early years children, they're not particularly well paid. The pathway for their career development isn't that of a teacher, and we kind of feel as a school at the moment that it's their time. And a partnership allows them that opportunity to develop with colleagues in different countries, and it puts early years at the forefront of education, which we all want, because it is the foundation of the work that Matthew and his colleagues do in the senior school.
So Matthew, what are the key motivators for you as a UK school to establish partnerships overseas?
I think the greatest motivator for me is about impact on pupils. I genuinely would like to make an impact on pupils in India.
Aren't you worried about this legacy of yours? You're now going to get in a partner. So aren't you worried about the legacy maybe going haywire or getting diluted?
It's a very, very good question. I think anyone who wasn't worried about that probably hasn't thought it through enough, but I think that's why we've spent so much time working on this partnership. As Sandy said, we've known Aranav as a 10-year association. We came to visit India last year. We saw some very, very interesting schools, but it's really taken the best part of the year to develop our partnership and decide how we really would like to work together. And there are some challenges with that. It's not always easy. The most important thing for me is trust. We heard a lot about trust earlier. I would not go into partnership with someone I didn't trust. You mentioned other partnerships. I think there are, I don't mean this in any way critical of other UK schools' partnerships in other parts of the world, but I think they're largely based on finance, and we've been determined to stay focused on education and impact on improving outcomes for young people. I have great trust in this man. I think most people that know Aranav, you meet Aranav once, you're a friend for life. He's a man of great integrity, but he's a great educational mind. And that's what we really want to develop and sustain, and be more than an association, a proper partner.
So both of you have been hinting or talking about something, so let me address the elephant in the room, because I represent Jumbo Kids, which stands for an elephant. So I'm very good at addressing elephants. Are you all getting into a partnership?
We've been working on it for a long time now. And we are starting to run an early year center to start with and see how it goes. It has been, there's a lot of planning that has gone in it, but we're looking at setting up a center in Noida. These are going to be only 9 classrooms in the entire facility. Each classroom is 1,200 square feet, which is basically twice the size of a regular classroom with 25 kids. We're looking at creating something which possibly hasn't existed in India in terms of the quality of delivery for the child, and if all goes well, also become a place where teachers, from across the country can come in and sort of share their learning and improve practices.
You said Noida.
Yes.
Aren't you worried? Because I know Noida parents, and they are very Marx oriented and very tradition and very much about what our topic for the conference today is, conformity. So aren't you worried?
So, no, I think that's changing. We do tend to play a blame game with parents, but I think it's changing. There are enough people now who understand that it's not
so you're
just
confident?
I'm quite confident that there are people who would accept and acknowledge and
I think that deserves a round of applause, because every time I hear educators say, parents kya kahenge, and here is somebody who's willing to invest and bring about change for the children of this country, that is commendable, really. And I come to my next question, which is a little serious. So it's a partnership, right? Something is going to be born out of this partnership. So is the pregnancy a natural one or a surrogate one?
Considering that
is he going to be the surrogate?
we haven't experienced pregnancy. We medically can't. But Matthew, do you want to attempt?
I'll tell you what I mean by it.
I'm still trying to work out.
A natural birth is when the mother takes a complete ownership of the child because it's her child. A surrogate is actually carrying your baby. Now, will this person be a surrogate, or you're going to give the person all the rights of a mother?
Just to be clear, is Aranav the mother?
Yes.
So,
yes.
this isn't a surrogate partnership. This is a partnership that is really led by Aranav's mind and Aranav's vision. I think that we have been creative in how we have approached early years. I mean, really this is, Sandy has been at the forefront of this. We've looked overseas at best practice. A lot of our work has been inspired by some Scandinavian work.
Right.
It's very much focused on using green space and being a forest school and using outdoor learning. Someone mentioned it earlier, we actually bought a bowling club and converted the bowling green into this great space for young people to learn on, and that was one of the things that Aranav became quite excited by. So we do believe we have some expertise to bring to it, but this is no dictatorship. You know, I would not, how could I possibly really understand the context of this amazing, exciting, mesmerizing country? I couldn't do that. I think I'm slowly beginning to learn about it, but what works in one place, you can't just lift and force it and make it and think it's going to work here. But when you have someone who understands the context and the vision and is so pupil-focused, we have great confidence that we can enhance the experience by our involvement.
Andy, my question is for you. It's a partnership, which means you are going to bring your expertise to Arunabh. It has to be a two-way process. So would you also learn from Arunabh and implement it in your school, or is it going to be a one-way process?
No, very much a two-way process. I mean, the early years, Aranav has always said he can build a fantastic facility, he can put an amazing curriculum together, and if you don't mind me saying, but he always says to us, but with you I can do it quicker. Now, we have 3 early years centres across Glasgow, recently inspected at the top grading boundary, which is pretty unusual in Scotland. So yes, we will bring a lot of early years experience, but this partnership is about more than that. Okay, Aranav has children who are not early years children. He has staff that are primary and senior age as well. So there's opportunities for us to work on partnerships throughout the school. Maybe not a building partnership as such initially, but there's interdisciplinary learning projects that we could be doing together, something I know that Aranav is very, very keen on doing in his school. Possible pupil exchanges from children.
So for example, if he practices yoga in his early childhood centre, and you see that's working, would you adopt it at your centre?
Absolutely. We are, as Matthew's already said, I think that one of the keys to maybe our success, which is a very difficult time in Britain just now, I'm sure you've all heard of Brexit, Scottish independence. is because we are doing different things, and we are not just going for what is the norm. We are being creative in our approaches. We're trying things that no other school is. So we absolutely, if we saw things...
So it's going to be an enriching partnership.
It is, and I managed to convince Matthew's predecessor to invest in 3D technology in Scotland, which no one else would, but we did that because we saw it in Arnav school. We heard about the impact it was having on children in India, so we did it. So yeah, we will absolutely learn a huge amount from Arnav and other schools in India.
So, there is something very laudable and commendable happening on the stage right now. I don't think many of you realized it. They're all three men, and they're all talking about early childhood education, and they're not just talking about the investment, they're talking about curriculum. Friends, acupressure is a very good form of keeping yourself healthy, and clapping is the best form of acupressure. This is something really, I know, you don't know, I'm getting goosebumps right now, because things like this happening in the early childhood community, these are called men in early childhood education. Wow. They're going to lead the way. Wow. So Arunab, my question is for you. Why them? Why did you choose them?
That's a very good question, and it's just a bit of a background. So I graduated from Hindu College, which got me a seat at King's to do a master's in education. We were 32 students from 28 different countries. It's a fantastic experience, and that's perhaps the first time when I actually started to understand what is it that these people are doing in their classrooms, that they are sending out explorers, inventors, and how did this country actually export so much of knowledge? So my first hook into the UK came from my own experiences of sitting in their classroom. Like Sandy mentioned, there was a Connecting Classrooms grant that we had, and so that's when we got in touch with each other and went to schools. And that's where I started to really develop these long-term partnerships with the Scots. And they're fantastic people. And when you are working on a partnership, especially in a school, you really need to respect and like the other person. Because this is not, it's not a manufacturing facility. This is a much deeper involvement. So that mutual respect that has happened over time, and on behalf of the Glasgow Academy, I invite anybody who's in Glasgow to actually go and have a look at the kind of fantastic learning experience.
Will you send the ticket?
Yeah. So they have done some fantastic work, and the ethos is really about child at the center of their existence. The forest school that Sandy is talking about has 3 classrooms and several acres of forest. You go into that school and you find kids with a magnifying glass in the woods. Now I know that I can't create that in Noida. I don't know if all the kids will come back.
Lots of litigation cases against you.
But I've been impressed with the people, the kind of people they are, and the kind of work I think, which should be the basic rationale of any partnership. It cannot just be the brand name that I want to bring in.
When's the launch? Because I have a suggestion for the launch.
Okay, go ahead.
You should all be in your country's traditional wear during the launch.
You want to see them in skirts?
I love the kilts.
Sandy wanted us to wear kilts, but I was born in England, so I wasn't.
Now you're wiggling out of it.
So I actually sent Matthew a WhatsApp message last week about this. Do you mind me reading it? And I think he thought I was drunk when I sent it. So it reads, I asked him if he wanted me to buy him a pair of tartan trousers. To which he responded that was the message for the right person. And he said, you go for it. So we absolutely would get Matthew in a kilt, I think, for a lunch. And Arnav as well.
Only then will your cultures shine out. Right now you're all in 3-piece suits with ties.
Yes.
The Indianness and the Scottishness has to come out. And more people would come just to take photographs of the 3 of you. Okay, just to make clear to the audience, because we are used to partnerships called educational boards. So Arunabh, if you can tell people about how is this partnership going to be different from maybe partnering with the education board?
So the basic intention of doing this is, and like I said earlier, there are problems that they've already solved. So to import that knowledge and that experience. For us to come in as the Indian partners on facility, on context, and actually run this school together with a lot of teacher training coming from UK for our members of our staff who have extended time in their school. And we, like Matthew said earlier, you can't just transplant this. So there are going to be things that are happening in that school in UK that will not happen in India, and vice versa. So, but it is going to be a co-branded school, and so we would actually own this jointly.
So what's the name going to be?
We're working on it, but in all probability it'll be called Healthy Planet, the Glasgow Academy Preschool and Daycare.
That's wonderful. So Matthew, my question is either to any one of you. Can you briefly share an example of how you are moving from conformity to creativity? How it is making an impact not only on your schools, what you are doing, but also on how it will have an impact on your future partners.
Okay, I think perhaps one example that springs to mind is the work we're doing with pupil leadership. It's been mentioned a number of times today, the world is an unsettled place just now. We are really trying hard to engage young people in looking for solutions to global problems. I think the young people in Glasgow, they probably think that some of the problems they face, some of the dilemmas with social media, they're the only people in the world who face those problems. Some of the problems they think are other people's problems, that just happens in other parts of the world. We've been working really closely with a company called the Wild Hearts Group, who provide social entrepreneurship training to multinational corporations all over the world. They're coming into education, they're a partner of ours. They've already run one global summit in our school. They have really energized the young people in our school. So if I give you an example, we consume far too much plastic in our school. We have been up until recently still selling plastic bottles. So following one of the Wild Hearts events, a young person in our school decided they wanted to put a petition together to get all plastic bottles banned from the school. So that has led to us actually doing that. They are now marketing and selling these aluminium eco-friendly bottles throughout the whole school, and they are the ones who are speaking to the younger children about why this is. So you've got young people teaching young people. If I stand up in front of the whole school assembly and say, you must do this, it just feels like another rule. When a young person stands up and explains, we need to do this, and this is the reason why.
So best of power.
That's right. So that pupil leadership is something that isn't just for 15, 16-year-olds. We can start developing those skills really at a young age, and that's something I think that we can bring to the table and help to develop within the partnership. Obviously, age appropriate.
Sandy, would you like to share something?
I'm trying to think of something relevant for early years. So our 4 to 11-year-old children have recently been awarded the Anti-Bullying Gold Award by the Diana Award people. This was really born out of children not telling us that there was a bullying culture in the school, because there wasn't, but I'm not going to sit here and say that as a school we were perfect. We still had issues of children not respecting each other, not being mindful of each other, not having any empathy towards each other. So the children, it was actually one of the parents sent an email to say, why don't you consider going for this award? Because what it does is, it hands over your anti-bullying work entirely to the pupil body. The pupils tell the staff how it's going to be run. That's a bit of a risk, especially in an independent school in Scotland, but we decided that we would do it because there was a real energy amongst the children. So the anti-bullying ambassadors put together a new policy. They managed to get money out of Matthew and the governors to buy resources. They presented to our governing body, and they became the first school in Britain to win this award. Now, I don't think that's because we are special in any way. I just think it's because others didn't have the trust and belief in their pupil body, and we certainly do at the school. So that's another example of how we trust our pupils. It was a risk because there's to be no adult involvement in the award.
Wonderful. And we did speak of trust earlier on in the conference also. It's a wonderful example. Arunabh, two things. If you had to give us an idea of one thing that you feel your school will benefit from after adopting their program, apart from the legacy and the number of years, and what's the one thing that you would like them to learn from your school?
At the cost of being repetitive, I'm going to go back and say what I'm really hoping they would gain from them is having child at the center of the entire organization's existence. Is something that TTA has done really, really well. When you look at their spaces, when you look at their the classroom design, the lesson plans, pretty much everything. So that's the one big value add that I'm hoping that they would bring in. What can we teach them? I think we can be a very good first example of a setup in India, because I'm sure as an organization, TTA is not just looking at this one little setup in India.
Are you looking for more partners?
We're not actively looking for more partners because we feel that we've found a wonderful partnership that's built on trust. I think that the Glasgow Academy is always open to developing new partnerships and open to learning from other people. And I know that Arunabh's attitude to that is that nothing is closed. Any partnership that is pupil-centred and can actually have an impact on pupils here and, in all honesty, on the pupils at home in Glasgow, at our school, then we're open to those discussions. But it'd certainly only be if it was a case, it was something that could at least complement the partnership that we've already got.
So Arunabh, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you in making this partnership successful?
Sticking to deadlines. Our concept of time in India is slightly different to their concept of time in UK.
Indian stretchable time.
The Indian stretchable time, so we'll try and not stretch it as much. I think that's possibly going to be the biggest challenge, and I'm hoping that they would be empathetic and understand when there are things that you can control, and then there are some that you can't.
Do you need a mediator? Because I'm available. Just joking. So you think that's going to be your biggest challenge? What about parents? How are you going to be? Do you think they're going to cause any worry for you?
No, I'm quite sure about the parent body, because I genuinely believe that we have a parent body now that is more aware, and they can tell when the school is actually working hard. There will be an odd person who would blame you for something that you haven't done, but most people can see genuine work and they stand by the school if something were to even go wrong.
Is there anything else about this partnership that you would like to tell the audience? Because I don't think there are too many of these partnerships in India. So
there aren't many, though. In different formats, things have been attempted.
Yes.
For example, Leena has done a lot of work where a lot of her knowledge came from developed economies and developed systems. Kunal with Kunskap Poland, he's got examples of having established partnerships. You've got the King's College school in Sonipat now. So it's not something that is path-breaking in that format. But one way in which this is different is that none of these decisions are actually being taken on economics.
Right.
They are being taken on genuine love for learning and for creating something that hasn't existed before.
Oh, that's wonderful. So do you have an IP for your work? Have you got it copyrighted? You are coming into Asia.
Sorry, it looks like I'm just passing the buck to Sandy here. Just in terms. No,
Or is that one of your reasons why you chose him?
Translate that into Scottish, please. I mean, he probably will.
You probably will.
You don't normally have 10 years to work with a partner before you actually do something formal. So I think we're in a fortunate position that whatever we create in this will be bespoke, because we have to be mindful of Indian tradition, Indian compliance. Aranav needs to be mindful of what is a fairly rigorous health and safety regime back in the UK. So what is great, we will open our doors, our early years doors, that's what we are, we're transparent, and Aranav and myself will create something that is truly bespoke, but that will be owned essentially by the partner.
Matthew wants to add something.
I think it is worth adding. I mean, I think you can probably tell by the atmosphere. There's a friendship here, there's a trust here. But I wouldn't want people to think, sitting here today, that this is easy, this is just done overnight. There's a lot of coming and going, and along the way this year, there have been times when we've thought, okay, I think we're at slightly different points here, and it's taken some compromise, and it's taken some real time to take a step back and understand and respect what's really important to each other, and understand why the Glasgow Academy wants to protect certain things and why Healthy Planet and WS want to protect certain things. So I don't want to kid anyone on that this is something that you become friendly, you share some educational values, and that's fine. It's more complex than that, and it takes time. Because you have to be respectful of those things and make sure that you're working with someone that you really can trust.
So I think we will end here, because I want to open it up to the audience. I'm sure they'll have a lot of questions for this unique partnership that's coming to fruit very soon, hopefully by next academic year. Oh, that's wonderful. So, first, I would like to give a huge round of applause for the Men in Early Childhood Education. And it's a very interesting partnership that you are getting into. And we, in India, are used to terms like franchising or getting affiliations, etc. And this is a new term that you are now bringing in called a partnership, which is very nice. So I'm going to open the floor for questions now. Anybody would like to ask any questions? Please tell us who the question is directed to. Nobody is curious about the partnership, or are you waiting for tea? Yeah, right? Oh, wonderful. What did you say? Oh. Mic's not working? You're an educator, your voice will be heard.
Thank you so much. So, question to maybe any one of you. I'm just keen to know what will the structure of the day look like, because pre-primary, as we call it the early years, is a little unstructured out here in India. So, since you have been working in partnership for the last few years, I'm sure there's a well-structured day. I don't mean structured in typical structure, but what would a day look like in the life of a young child in your school?
School. Glasgow or Healthy Planet?
The kind of partnership that they're looking at in future, what you plan to come
So are you
up with.
trying to ask that would the daily routine change?
Yes, I mean, what should a parent expect? What would a day look like? What would my kid do in the school in a day?
Okay. So essentially, you're saying that what is the big value add that this partnership brings in, and what can the parent expect from the school? When the parent sends the child to the school in the morning and picks them up later. Okay. This is going to turn out to be a very long answer, and I know that our timekeeper would not allow that. We are creating a facility that would primarily provide a solution to working parents in a nuclear family who understand the value for good education. So a solution where they can possibly drop their child to this center in the morning and pick the child up in the evening, and we would have partly outsourced, we partly become the outsourced partner of parenting for them. So it's not just what happens in the 3 hours of school time, but what happens till the time the parent comes back and picks up the child in the evening. And that's actually a solution for the area, that's a Noida Expressway. Some people would know the area. That is actually the need that our parent has right now. So it would have various types of things, and I can connect with you offline and share with you what I'm planning to do.
Anyone else has any questions? Or shall we wrap it up? Yes. There's a mic behind you.
Thank you. The type of partnership which is being discussed, fantastic. I would say that what we are wanting to see. I want to have a view of yours that how are the teachers or the facilitators who would be attending to these children trained? Are they being trained from your side or they would be handled by Aruna? The faculty, the facilitators who would be there at this school, how would they be trained?
Okay, so in terms of teacher training, certainly at least some of the expertise will be provided by the Glasgow Academy. Now, what I would say to you is at this stage I can't tell you that every single teacher would personally have that contact with the Glasgow Academy teachers, because there'll be only certain times they can come over, but certainly they will be training the trainers. Santa, do you want to?
I mean, I think the way that, good question by the way, the way that we see this working is that when we appoint a nursery manager initially, that they will come and maybe spend the term at the Glasgow Academy. They will live in probably with one of the heads.
Did you hear that? The nursery manager will go to Glasgow in case anybody is interested.
Okay.
And they will be trained with us, but obviously it's very important that they then spend time at Arnav's Healthy Planet nursery as well. Thereafter, it's really about timing, because when the practitioners are appointed, one of the fortunate things about this partnership is our school holidays fall at different times, which is why we can be at an amazing event like this. So there will always be an opportunity for our staff to come over during your term time and vice versa. So I do see there being a fairly hefty travel schedule, because I think we need that initially, but really we then need to trust the people that are running these centres to kind of pass that training down thereafter.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
wonderful. So ScooNews has always been a lucky platform for all new ideas, and we wish you luck, because you have launched your partnership at the ScooNews platform. And kudos to Aruna, because this is a huge challenge and an investment, and you are willing to take it. Imagine in Noida, just 9 classrooms. It's a wonderful, wonderful initiative, especially because it's in early years. And to both of you, hope to see you more often in your national dress. And it was wonderful moderating this panel, though you must have seen how nervous I was, because he's the king of moderation and he was constantly judging me, which I will tackle afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank you,
us.
Swati. You're brilliant as a moderator. Can we please have Mr. Ravi Satlani on stage to felicitate our panelists?
A little observation, it's not Noida, it's Neoda.
Neoda.
Yeah? It's Neoda. So